Hey everyone, welcome to Locked On Lakers for Friday. Brian Kamenetzky, Andy Kamenetzky. The Lakers sit everyone Thursday night against the Bucks, so no surprise they lose. But both LeBron Jameses make headlines. We'll explain next.
You are Locked On Lakers, your daily Los Angeles Lakers podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Thanks to everybody for making Locked On Lakers your first listen of every day. First listen, Monday through Friday, sometimes on Saturdays and Sundays. No matter how or where you get your podcasts, this one's always free. Never behind a paywall. And Locked On Lakers on YouTube is where 34,000 subscribers, Andy, are talking about the play of Bronny James on a night where the Lakers sat. And I don't mean this with much hyperbole. Basically everyone sat against the Milwaukee Bucks. Final score there was 118-89, I believe. But the score, you can kind of see that coming given who didn't play, which we'll talk about here in a second. Both Bronny James Jr. and LeBron James Sr.
LeBron James Jr. Bronny James Jr. would be Bronny's son.
No, LeBron James Jr.
Bronny James Jr. feels like the son of Bronny, not the son of LeBron.
Oh, okay, yeah. Anyway, the kid and the dad both had.
LeBron's going to play a while. He is not going to play with Bronny's kid.
I'm not totally sure about that. I'm not sure about that.
I refuse to believe that.
It seems like a long shot, but I'm not totally sure. But either way, both LeBron James making headlines for a couple reasons. Good news for LeBron on the injury front, which we'll get into for this show, obviously, as well. Do want to let everybody know that today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can get $200 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. Let's actually talk. Let's get the injury update news for LeBron out of the way. If you watched the game on Spectrum Sportsnet, the Lakers TV station they carry the games, you saw probably multiple times the footage of LeBron working out before the game. And this wasn't like some casual, getting a couple shots up type deal. This was LeBron doing like full floor sprints, getting up, dunking, all that stuff at what looked to me like full speed. And JJ Redick said he was hopeful that LeBron will be back on the floor Saturday against
Rui as well.
Wolves. Yeah. So that is obviously excellent news for the Lakers. Not sure if you had anything you wanted to add to that medical update.
Well, just that it feels along the lines of what had been hoped for, with the idea that LeBron and Rui have been day to day for going on close to a week now. So to be totally honest, if they weren't available to play Saturday, you start running into, all right, they better be on the court pretty damn quick. Otherwise, I am wondering what the holdup is and how loose we are playing the whole day-to-day thing, because, I'm trying to think of who somebody just tore their ACL. I can't remember who it is in the NBA, but
Kyrie.
Kyrie. Yes, it was Kyrie. Kyrie is technically day to day, like in terms of the recovery.
Yeah.
He is day to day in the most literal sense, but he is clearly nowhere close to recovering. If after like a week of day to day, LeBron and or Rui are not back on the court, we need to start getting some information of like, no, seriously, when are they coming back?
I think, yes, if you're not also seeing that they're moving, like if LeBron couldn't play Saturday, needed till Monday, but you just saw the footage of him doing circuits around the floor, taking it, and he just needed they're taking one more day to be cautious. Figure you can beat Chicago.
That's fine. Like I said, if he wasn't back after a week, it starts becoming pretty soon. Monday, Wednesday, like, no, seriously, right. How long are we day to day?
Whatever. If it's not accompanied with activity, and these guys are obviously progressing nicely towards a return. And the Lakers, look, You want to win every game. You want to the Lakers have a chance to be the number 2 seed in the West, which, given how they play at home, would be a tremendous boon for this team. And all of that is true. But if you looked at the game, the post-game footage after Wednesday's win over Denver, Luka's sitting in front of in front of the net, or in front of his locker, like an ice mummy. Like, he is wrapped up in more ice and all that stuff. Reaves looked like he was just going to pull a blanket up over his body, sitting in his chair, and just sleep there. Like, he was dead exhausted, and so they sat both of those guys. And then they sat Dorian Finney-Smith, and they sat Jared. And, I
was surprised Gabe Vincent played, in all honesty, given everybody.
I was surprised I was sort of surprised Jackson Hayes played. Like, I guess he's probably healthy enough at this point that they're not really worried about him.
Jackson's loving this era of everything runs through Jackson Hayes. He ain't sitting. He's
no
become a target, man. He's going to milk this for all he can. It's saucy tonight on a few possessions.
He did. A little too saucy. It's interesting, actually, to see it. Like, you can see the difference in a lot of these guys when different players aren't playing. And Jackson looked more like old Jackson Hayes because there's less structure around him, which all of this makes perfect sense. So the Lakers, discretion is the better part of valor. And sit a bunch of guys you're going to lose probably anyway once Luka, Reaves, and LeBron aren't playing. So get everybody right. Get everybody as healthy as you need to be. This is a scheduling thing. The Lakers, because of what happened with the fires especially, their schedule got rearranged. And once that happened, everybody knew this stretch of 6 games in 8 days was going to be incredibly difficult. The rest of the season, again, incredibly difficult schedule. So I think the Lakers did the right thing. And it does open up, Andy, a little bit of time to get Bronny James on the floor. And there is no question that for the Lakers, at least, Bronny James was the story of this game.
Yeah, we'll get more into depth with Bronny over the course of the show. I will say I had been hoping he and Dalton Connect ended up leading the Lakers tonight with 17 points apiece, but Dalton's was very backloaded.
Oh, didn't play well.
He did not play well. I imagine he had at least 9 of his 17 points, not just in the fourth quarter, but like the second half of the fourth quarter.
The Lakers needed, if they were going to compete in this game, needed a big night from Dalton. He just didn't play well.
Yeah, I mean, it does. We had just talked about how Dalton has been playing very well in March. We spent a lot of time talking about that after Wednesday's win over Denver. This doesn't shake any, recent belief that we've had in Dalton, or, it doesn't take away from anything he's done over this month. And in the grand scheme of things, it doesn't matter because they would have needed Dalton to put up like 40 something to stay in it. It's just, given the way he's been playing, I imagine it's disappointing for him that with the increased opportunity, he wasn't able to, if nothing else, have a better showing. I mean, I'm surprised he only had 14 shots in this game.
He didn't play. It shows role players are role players for a reason. And when, generally speaking, when you ask them to go beyond that, when you ask Dalton Connect or Gabe Vincent to be your primary offensive weapons, they're going to struggle, and they're going to struggle to create the shots. The Lakers didn't have any real shot creators on the floor, guys who can set up in the way that Reaves, Luka, LeBron can to get guys easy looks. So a lot of these easy shots, wide open threes and whatever that players have gotten used to over the last, few weeks with all these guys in the lineup, they were not available. And so that is why I mentioned Jackson Hayes didn't have a good game relative to how he has been playing in terms of decision-making, in terms of control, in terms of efficiency, all that kind of stuff. He didn't look to me as good as he has in other games. In terms, picks up some fouls, and I just, he hit 4 or 5 from the floor. But overall, I just wasn't as strong of a game from Hayes as he's had. And Dalton, 5 of 14 from the floor. Nobody there to really open up the space for him. He's got to do most of that himself. It doesn't look as good. Gabe Vincent, same kind of thing. These are not guys who you want to be leaning on to create a lot of offense. And it's not surprising to me that the guys who took the most shots on the team in the starting lineup, those two plus Markieff Morris, were all very inefficient.
Yeah,
because there's nobody setting the table for any of them.
Yeah, absolutely. Again, it doesn't take away from how well I think Dalton's played over the course of this month. It's just disappointing, I think, if nothing else, for him, because I imagine he pictured entering this game, this could be an opportunity for me to have a bigger night. He ultimately didn't have it. But like we said, this was the best game of Bronny James's career by a long shot. I realize that will sound like a backhanded compliment to a lot of people. It really wasn't. And we can get into why coming up next. Locked on Lakers is brought to you by Upwork. Scaling your business requires the right expertise at the right time. With Upwork, you can find specialized freelancers in marketing, developing, design, and more, experts ready to help you take your business to the next level. Upwork gives businesses flexibility by connecting them with top freelance talent across multiple industries, including IT, AI, web development, marketing. Whether you need extra hands for a project or a long-term partner, Upwork makes hiring simple and affordable. You can find the right talent. If you need help with a marketing campaign, Upwork can connect you with a freelance expert who delivered incredible results. And instead of hiring full-time, Upwork can help you find affordable, top-tier freelancers to scale your business efficiently. Visit Upwork.com right now. Post your job for free. That's UPWORK.com, Upwork.com, to connect with top talent and grow your business daily.
Locked on Lakers also brought to you by FanDuel. March Madness is here, and FanDuel is giving you the chance to get in on the action like never before. Right now, new customers can get $250 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. That's 200 extra bucks to use on everything from buzzer beaters to Cinderella teams and even who is cutting down the nets. I had Mizzou, Andy, because we're from Missouri. I had Mizzou winning a couple games in this tournament. They apparently lost. So don't think of anything. I don't know anything about college basketball, but you might. You can pick your favorites. You can stay in the action. You get tournament games happening almost every day. So there's always something exciting to bet on. It's fast. It's easy. FanDuel app is simple to use. When you win, you get paid out instantly. No waiting around. So visit FanDuel.com and get in on the college hoops action all tournament long. Final line, Andy, from Bronny James, 17 points, tied for the team lead with Dalton Knecht. He also had 5 assists. He had 3 rebounds. He did have a block shot as well. A couple, tough turnovers. And when he came into the game, his first play was essentially a flat pass turnover, and it looked like it might be one of those kind of deals for Bronny. But he really settled down and played a nice game. And it's not it was like, eye-popping, oh my God, 55th pick, the Lakers have struck gold. But go back to that late January disaster, which was the last time that he had meaningful minutes against regular rotation players in the NBA. It was that game at the end of January in Philly when the Lakers were shorthanded and Redick put him in after a few good games in the G. And
because they were down everybody. They needed
as
guards.
I said, they were shorthanded. Yeah. They needed, and like he was a disaster. It was terrible. And this game wasn't that. He was playing real minutes against Milwaukee, and Milwaukee was basically healthy for this game, and he acquitted himself nicely. The progress between that game in January to the game now was really good.
I thought the highlight for Bronny was a hit-ahead pass, almost full court, after a defensive stop to Markieff Morris. It was perfectly timed, set up a really easy score for Keith. And like we said, Keefe was 3 of 11. He needed some easy opportunities in this game. He also had a driving baseline floater over Brook Lopez. He popped a couple threes in this game. There was a time where he lost the handle while he was dribbling and got stolen from him, but he got back in transition and forced the ball off Porter's hands. He did a lot of, I thought, really nice things in this game. Ran a little bit of two-man game with Dalton Knecht that set up the other three he had in this game. 17 points for Bronny is he also, too, before I forget, there was a sequence where he drove inside. He had a really nice, like, twisting, gliding airborne layup where he switched hands.
That's the thing I was about to say. You talked about the pass, the hit ahead. I think he did a couple times where he switched hands to protect the ball. If ball stays in his right hand, it's going to get blocked. Where he has, the awareness to either pull up. He had a little pull up 15-footer, just little stuff, pull up in front of the rim, like the awareness. So he is a painfully undersized guy, and little stuff like that is important in terms of how he positions his body, how he gets shots up and stuff like that. Showed much more confidence in his ability to put the ball on the floor and get to the basket. He had a tricky little play where he faked a handoff coming around a screen and went to the basket really quick. Just a lot of little stuff like that.
Yeah, there was also a sequence where he ended up mano-a-mano against Giannis, and as one would predict, advantage Giannis. But you and I are texting back and forth during the game. Awesome that he did it anyway.
Yeah,
I mean, like in a game like this, as far as like the results, what do you have to lose anyway? But given everything we were talking about, and the disastrous January game that led to Stephen A. Smith having a conniption fit on First Take, and as a father, and then LeBron and all that stuff, like that, he would have the confidence and the willingness to do it anyway, I think is fantastic. And to put it in perspective, the 17 points that he had tonight, Bronny entered this game having scored 33 total points as a pro. Mm-hmm. Like, so he hit about half of what he's done as a pro in one game. And this one game, for me at least, doesn't solidify the idea that he's automatically going to have a career, because I still think there is a lot for Bronny to overcome, if for no other reason, the size and some of the stuff that you're talking about. I think it's going to be more difficult at that size to figure out exactly what his position is. But that being said, a game like today underscores the improvement that JJ Redick talked about after the game. And he talked about, I think a few days ago, I don't remember how it came up, but the question of Bronny, and he said, like, he has been playing much better lately. He's been better in the G League, in the Athletic. Joe Varden did a profile of Bronny that reflected Bronny's own growing confidence in what's going on, that he feels like the work is starting to pay off. And for the time being, that is the best you can ask for. And I'm happy for him that he had this night, man. It ain't easy being him.
It isn't. And I just, look, a lot of things can be true at once here. He is in the NBA with the Lakers as the 55th pick in the draft. Again, with the Lakers, because LeBron James wanted it that way. And he has security as a 55th pick that other 55th picks, 56th, 57th often don't have. Some do. Some get the contract that Bronny got, but many don't. So, okay, that's 100%. We can all agree on that. Once you strip away his name and you get past the stuff that I just mentioned, if you looked at a team that took the 55th pick, who's 20 years old, who lost essentially his only college basketball season because of the heart thing, and another team drafted that player at number 55, who's 20 years old, and said, this guy's gonna be a project. We're going to develop him over a couple of years, and we think in a few years he could be a decent player. You would look at the season that Bronny has had and say, this has been a success. He has shown potential in the G League. He's put up pretty good numbers. He has improved in garbage time over the course of the season, and has a nice game on Thursday night against real competition. If it was any other 55th pick, it probably wouldn't be much of a national story. And we'll see actually how much anybody even bothers talking about this tomorrow, which could very well prove some of the points that LeBron was, some people were making that
see, I bet it's going to get talked about.
It could. And I hope it does.
If for no other reason than football is over, baseball hasn't quite started yet. The tournament doesn't, the NCAA tournament doesn't have the same juice that it used to.
No, I agree with you.
I bet it's going to get talked about.
I hope so, because there was a long stretch of time when, and this was, I think, one of LeBron's bigger criticisms, where people were talking about Bronny as a conduit basically to criticize LeBron. And they were really only interested in talking about Bronny if the news was bad.
Sure.
And so Bronny being a totally normal 55th pick who seems to be coming along with some degree of potential. He's 4 years away from being as old as Dalton Knecht is today. I mean, so like, just in terms of thinking about your rookies and like the development curve for a lot of these guys, if it was any other player, like fans would be excited. Oh, look, this is going pretty well. We'll check back in a year and see how things are going. So I just, if you level set with Bronny, can put yourself past this, the nepotism aspect of it. He is not a talentless hack who has no business being in the position that he is. He got there for specific reasons, but he's also a player like many Nepo babies. He's actually a person who brings something to the table independent of his lineage.
Yeah. I mean, that's the hope, at least. Again, you see small flashes, you see some degree of improvement, especially over the last couple of months, largely in the G League. And hopefully it continues just to translate. Again, like I think it is too early to make like your ironclad decision one way or another, regardless. The best that you can hope for, though, is that when LeBron,
nobody's making.
I'm not.
It's just
no, but a lot of people. No, that's not.
I guess
a lot of people. No, a lot of
people who aren't actually paying attention or don't have any sort of investment in Bronny's success or failure beyond, to be perfectly honest, hoping he fails because they don't like LeBron and they don't like how this was handled. But the point, like, Bronny can wash out. Bronny could, in 3 or 4 years, you look at it and you say, you know what? He just couldn't quite develop. He was a little too small. The jumper never came around, whatever it might be. And that essentially comes out to no great loss or nothing out of the ordinary, given where he was taken. I think what matters, at least to me, is the bar should be, is he a prospect that makes sense at 20 years old with the 55th pick? And I think the answer is yes. Okay. And for me, at least, once that question is answered, the rest of it is immaterial. Like he has shown he is worth the pick that the Lakers used on him in that position at his age. And we'll see what happens.
Okay. Yeah, we can stay on this also. Again, I think it's worth getting into some of just what may lay ahead for the Lakers with some guys hopefully coming back Saturday. So talk about all that coming up next.
Locked On Lakers is brought to you by 5 Hour Energy. You know, a lot of people, this daylight savings thing kind of sneaks up on you. You always forget, like, is it spring forward? Does it fall back? And then you get the spring forward and you lose that hour of sleep. And if you are still suffering from that lost 5 hour of sleep, 5 Hour Energy has your back. The extra sunshine means more time for fun, but sometimes you need a little boost to get through. So whether you're staying up late watching the Dodgers this week at like 3 a.m. or the NCAA tournament, or you're trying to get some golf in after work or just get a workout in or whatever it might be, 5 Hour Energy gives you that quick, refreshing pick-me-up whenever you need it. So how do you get it? You go to 5hourenergy.com to find over 15 flavors to choose from, including watermelon, blue raspberry, and peach mango. You can even build your own 12 or 24 pack delivered right to your door. Need one now? Grab a 5-Hour Energy shot at your local grocery or convenience store. They are everywhere. Stock up today and stay energized. Again, 5hourenergy.com, over 15 flavors to choose from.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the Bracket Breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Reminder that the Locked On Lakers podcast is also a Locked On Lakers YouTube show, which many of you are watching right now. It is also, Andy, a newsletter. It's the whole franchise, really. You go to lockedondaily.com, you click on Locked On Lakers, and you have this show with analysis written by us, fresh every day, 5 days a week for you, along with other stuff from around the network. Great way to keep up with what's going on in the NBA. Andy, as the Lakers enter this critical stretch run, essentially in a like 4-way tie for second through fifth in the West. That's sort of where things are. The Lakers have a sneaky good setup for tiebreakers across the conference against a lot of these teams that they're battling against. That was a big deal with Wednesday's game. So Lakers are set up pretty well, but they got to win some games, and it's not going to be easy to do it.
Well, it was helpful that they got that win against Denver kind of unexpectedly, because you always just assume, in this case, Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, the best guys on pick your team will play against the Lakers, because that's just what happens. Don't ask us. Ask Luka Doncic, who took him like a week of playing for the Lakers to realize, like, no, that's not just narrative.
It's actually a thing.
Happens.
Yeah.
But the fact that they were on a 3-game winning streak heading into tonight, and they managed to get one of the wins in this setup that you might have thought was kind of a scheduled loss, because at the very least you knew LeBron and Rui weren't going to be available, and Denver is good. So this helped them catch a bit of a break. Like we've talked about, the most important thing is that they stay out of the play-in altogether. And I think assuming they get guys back relatively soon, and from there everybody stays on the court, I think they should be able to, at minimum, meet the baseline of you avoid the play-in.
Oh yeah,
and it's not
if they're healthy and start flirting with the play-in, the quality of play that they are putting out there has slipped considerably, because they've got a 4-game lead right now on the Clippers for the 7 spot. Like, so I mean, that's you're playing well below 500, or probably at the very least right at 500 with a red hot Clippers team or something behind you. Chances are you're below 500 if you're skating into that, threatening to skate into that 7 spot. But something like the Lakers, they have a pretty decent cushion before you start getting to the 6. I mean, I think, again, okay, stay out of the play-in. I think the minimum goal now is to finish top 4, where you have a chance to host, at least the opening round of the playoffs. And you look at the schedule they've got upcoming. Chicago on Saturday, especially if guys are back, is a game that you absolutely have to win. 4-game road trip takes you through Orlando, Indiana, Chicago, and Memphis. That's 3 playoff teams out of 4 on the road. It does include a back-to-back. Indiana finishing in Chicago. Memphis, you don't know what they're going to look like, whether or not John Morant's going to be able to play or not. He's been in and out of the lineup. But then after that, man, it's tough. Houston at home for what could be an incredibly critical game for the standings. Golden State is another team that is, trying to move up and has a chance. New Orleans, that's a throwaway game you ought to win. 2 games against Oklahoma City. We'll have a chance to talk about those, because I'm not exactly sure what
I have no idea what those games are going to be.
I don't know how much either team is going to really want to show the other, given where Oklahoma City is. Dallas could be fighting for a playoff spot, another game against Houston, and Portland could actually be trying to get into the play in that last game of the season. So like it's tough like the rest of the way. So
for what it's worth, I mean, with the OKC Lakers setup, like who will play in those games, who wouldn't? I mean, for OKC, there is the matter of how much they even have to play in order to get home court throughout the playoffs. Like they're battling with Cleveland for, if OKC gets to the finals, trying to have home court through the entire thing. As far as the idea of how much they would or would not show, I can't speak for what Mark Dagnall would do, although if I were him, I would actually want to get a look at my team versus the new look Lakers. Like I would actually want to have them on the court. I wouldn't want it to be cold during the playoffs. As for JJ though, and obviously there is no playoff sample size to predict with JJ, but just from what we've seen of him, and in particular, remember going back to preseason when JJ named his starting lineup before training camp even opened. And I asked him, I asked him, why did you do that? And he said, in part, it's because he wanted the players to know exactly what their roles were going to be. And if there was not going to be a training camp battle for any position, he'd rather everybody know. And then you just battle for the things that are actually real. But he also said, everybody knows what everybody runs. And because of that, I get a sense I don't think the Lakers are going to hide anything. Lakers are going to need to win those games. I think it would just be a matter of whether or not Oklahoma City is, they've had two or three different games where they've basically just kind of sat everybody. And I don't know, if Shea is a little banged up, I don't know how hard they're going to be working to win games. The Lakers are going to try to win those games because Lakers are going to need those games. But it's just a matter of what Oklahoma City puts out on the floor. Oh, I could picture OKC sitting guys for health reasons.
None of this is the Lakers. Lakers are going to have to play through.
No, but the reason I said that is you had mentioned before the idea of what they would want to show, like OKC.
I meant Oklahoma City, not the Lakers.
Okay, it sounded like you meant OKC. I'm just saying, if nothing else, I've heard other people say this. If I were OKC, assuming health was not a question, I would play my full roster against the Lakers at least once, just so they play against this group.
Sure.
And the first time they play is not in the playoffs. I don't think that's actually a good idea.
Yeah, but even then you might, hold back some actions or things like that you think might be effective that you might need in a playoff series. But I mean, it's the point of that is just it could be a very difficult run through the postseason, to up until you get to the postseason. But the flip side is if you get Oklahoma City and they're just like, okay, that's a 2-game series, both games in Oklahoma, in OKC, where maybe they're taking the foot off the gas a little bit. By the time you get Dallas on April 9th, that could be an incredibly important game for the Mavericks, or they could be out of it by then. Portland on the 13th, last game of the season, could be an incredibly important game for the Blazers, or they could be out of it by then. Like there's just this time of year, there are so many variables. Is New Orleans going to field a roster on April 4th when they play? I don't know. I don't know what they're doing. I mean, Chicago is trying to get in the play-in, so they're gonna keep trotting guys out there. And the Western Conference seeding could come down to who plays which team on what day, with all of this sort of end of season mishigas going on. So we'll see how it goes. The Lakers play Saturday night at the Crypt, last game before the roadie against Chicago again. Hopefully LeBron James and Rui Hachimura return for that one. But in the meantime, not a surprising loss to the Bucks, but still a fun night for Lakers fans because of nice improvement from Bronny. So we'll see everyone on after the game on Saturday.